Shubha is an MBA, and she is the founder of Rumination Life Academy and Leadership Development Trainer. She's an accomplished leadership development trainer and neuro-linguistic programming life coach, and she comes with an experience of over 15 years. And she is devoted to empowering individuals and is passionate about transforming people's life. She caters to a wide spectrum of audiences. And she has, apart from college students, she also does programs for corporate sector, and she focuses specifically on behavioral changes, business etiquette, workplace dynamics, employee effectiveness, and interpersonal relations. She is also specializing in honing the students' communication skills, their confidence building, and soft skills. And her guidance has enabled students to present themselves confidently and professionally during their interviews. And she aspires to leave a mark on the lives of those she touches and help them embrace their uniqueness and unlock their full potential. And in recognition of all her work, she was awarded the Avantika, which is APJ Abdul Kalam Award in 2019 and IEEA Award in 2021. Welcome, Ms. V. Shubha, and we look forward to hearing you. And welcome, participants, and I hope it will be an interactive session and you have a lot of takeaways from this session. Over to you, Shubha.
Thank you, ma'am. It's been a pleasure to be here, to be a part of this musings and to share my experience and knowledge with the student community. So as already ma'am has given a good introduction about me, I'm going to go directly to the topic because we have solid 50 minutes to talk more about the topic and know what actually effective communication is, because we have been communicating, or we do communicate on a regular basis with so many people around us. But the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we effectively communicating? Is it really creating an impact? Or are we influencing? Or are we persuading the person whom we are talking to? So this always leaves behind a doubt in all of our mind. Have I really spoken my mind? Have I really shared all the emotions I had or I felt? But that's not an answer every one of us will get. But then if you ask me, is that a challenging task or is that a tough job? Not at all. You can make your communication very much effective. You can make your receiver receive your intention and your emotion of what you have communicated in a very easy way, provided you know few nuances, you know the tips and techniques of how effectively to communicate. So when you again ask me the question, is it about the language that I should be knowing? I would 100% tell you that it is not about the language. It is not about, whether you know English or whether you know, Tamil or Malayalam or Telugu or whatever it might be. It is not about the language at all. So in that case, we should be effectively communicating in our own mother tongue, right? But even when we communicate in our mother tongue, we sometimes or we terribly fail to communicate what we have in our mind. So when again I mean communicate, it is not about the words that we pass, or it is not about the phrases or the sentences that we have inside us. It is about the intention. It is about the emotion. It is about the cognition that we really need to pass on to the receiver. So having said that, I have a very interesting topic to discuss with all of you, which is actually NLP model of communication. So you might ask me what actually NLP is. NLP stands for neuro-linguistic programming, and I am a neuro-linguistic life coach. So what actually is neuro-linguistic programming? A big story short, neuro-linguistic programming means you can program your own neuroscience by the language pattern that you use to train your brain, to train your whole body. So it's as simple as it is. You tell yourself that I'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you will get up. If you go to bed telling, I really doubt if I will get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you surely will not get up, because you have already told your neuroscience that you have certain inhibitions or you have some reluctancy to get up in the morning. So obviously you will not get up. So it sounds as simple as it is. I am putting it in front of you on a very simple note, but this applies on a larger scale as well. So you do have a destination for yourself. You do have a goal for yourself. And then when you visualize telling, it is possible for me, It is very much achievable for me. And then, yes, you have programmed your own neuroscience with the language pattern telling, yes, you can do it. And then you have all the chances of doing it. So when I bring in this theory of neuroscience to people, or when I talk about the modules of neuroscience to people, it is not about the books or the ideologies that I'm putting in front of you. It is about my own life experiences. So, when I tell myself this is possible, yes, it is possible for me. I'm able to do it for myself. So most of the sharings that comes from me is my own life experiences, where I have converted from my zero knowledge to at least 80% of knowledge that I have today. And I was a typical homemaker. To talk a little about on my personal side, when I got married way back in 2000, I was a typical homemaker. And I got married to a very orthodox family, telling that I had to look after only family and, just to cook and to be a typical homemaker. So, but then I was telling myself, this is not the life that I wanted to lead. Shubha is something different. Shubha has to do something different. She has a life for her own. She has a passion for her own. And I fixed a destination for myself. Probably I would say what I am now is the destination that I fixed for myself 23 years ago. So I got married when I was 21. And then again, you can calculate like what should be, what is the experience that I should have gained in this past 22 years. Before even I did NLP, before even I knew what NLP is or the theories of NLP, I could relate it. It is very much relatable to my own personal life, what I trained myself or how I trained myself to become what I am today. So that is the power of NLP. So again, to remind you what NLP is nothing but training your own neuroscience with the kind of the words and the choices of phrases that you tell yourself on a daily basis, consistently. Okay, so what is this NLP model and how is it going to help you to effectively communicate is what we are going to look today. Fine. Okay, so I am the founder of an organization called Rumination Life Academy. I have two branches. One is based out of Pondicherry, that's my hometown, and another one is based out of Tiruvannamalai, that's my husband's place. So I do have two branches running in these two places. And what I do under Rumination is I do training and coaching, and I've been doing this for almost 17 years. So what are the areas I train people? First and foremost, communication and confidence building. So why communication? Because in my life, I have seen all these 23 years, people lack communicating effectively. Something is a hindrance to them. Something is a blockage in their mind. So communication and confidence building has been one of my product for the past 17 years in training people, not just from the educational institution and even corporates. So when I mean corporates, it is not just the new joinees or freshers. Sometimes even senior people are looking out for training in order to equip themselves to be proficient in communication. And again, when I mean communication, is not just the language, it's not about the grammar, it is about how we communicate. So that's one of my product. And the second one is personality development. When I mean personality development, it is all about being a professional. There's a lot of difference between living a personal life and a professional life. And a very few have this thorough knowledge about where should I exhibit professionalism or where should I be exhibiting my personal trait. There's a lot of difference, and there is a boundary, or there is a small line of difference between living a personal life and a professional life. And again, I've been doing training for people from corporate. This has been a very big lacuna where people fail to understand. I wouldn't say everybody, at least 50% of the people fail to differentiate between personal life and professional life. And so my second product is training people, grooming people on how to be professional. What are the business etiquettes that we need to follow when we enter into a professional environment, or I would say into a workforce. So that's my second product. And the third product is interview readiness, preparing students on how to face the interview boldly. Because when you ask any final year student, what is your fear? They say interview. And if you ask me, is there something that we should not be scared of in this life? That is interview. That's nothing to be scared of. It is all about your self-confidence. It is all about your self-esteem, and it is all about the ability and the belief that you have in yourself on how you need to answer the interview. So the next product under rumination is training students on interview readiness. So the main vision of Rumination Life Academy, I would say, is to nurture the next generation leaders. And here we have all these management people who are all the leaders, or who's going to be the next generation leaders. And there's a lot of traits what an employer is looking for when a new candidate enters a workplace, be it a very small startup or be it to an already established organization. People are looking for certain traits, certain qualities, or I would say certain interpersonal dynamics, where every individual should be at least 50% efficient, if not 90%, at least 50% efficient. So what are those traits? The list is too big. If you're going to ask me to show me the list goes to around 90 points, what employers are looking for in a new joinee. And that is why, people are getting placed, but then they're not able to retain in a job. So now it is a situation where people needs to get a job and people needs sustainability in a job. So getting a job versus sustainability. So somehow through placements, yes, getting a job happens, but then sustainability doesn't happen, means not getting into the permanent role. Why? What are the areas you are being marked under? What are the competency framework that each organization has? And what are the checklist that every employer is looking in an employee so that you can be put under the permanent role? So that is what, we really focus on training and coaching individuals in order to become the next generation leaders. So out of those 80 to 90 points, the first thing that people are looking for is communication. So when I mean communication, you can ask me, is it verbal or is it non-verbal, or is it written, or is it,
Your voice is muted, Ms. Shubha. We can't hear you.
be that you need to be completely proficient, both oral and the tips and techniques that you can follow is what I'm going to share with you now. Fine. So this is a very lovely quote which I follow in life, and which would also be an eye opener to all of you out there, which means, like, it's a quote by Tony Robbins. He says, the way we communicate with others and with ourselves ultimately determines the quality of our lives. So when we talk about communication, we always talk about the external ideas or the thoughts or opinions that we share with others. No. Before we share it with others, what is being internalized? What is in your neuroscience? What have you programmed yourself with the ideologies, with the thoughts and opinions is what you need to question yourself. If you are positive, obviously what you talk will be optimistic. If you always have a positive outlook, you will be giving out, very good strategies to people around you. Imagine you are put in a situation where you are in a dark mode, where you yourself is not very much happy about your life, or you are not able to face challenging situation. And imagine somebody comes and asks you something. So will you tell him, hey, this is really possible, you can do it? No. Obviously, what will you say? You will say, hey, even I have been in the situation, even my life is like this. So what shall we do? So that would be the kind of approach you would, put along with the other people. So it clearly means that the way how you communicate with yourself is the way how you communicate with others as well. And then the way how you communicate with yourself is determining the quality of your life. Right? So when you tell yourself everything is possible, when you tell yourself everything is achievable, when you tell yourself that, every strategy on this earth is really doable, then obviously your approach towards every phase of your life also is very much optimistic. Be it your exams, be it your project, be it the way how you go approach your HOD, or, how you talk with your colleagues, or how you approach approach life, or how you're going to approach the job that you're seeking for. Everything starts from the thought process that happens inside you. When I mean the thought process, it is what you communicate to yourself. So that, in short, stands for neuro-linguistic programming your own neuroscience. So it is nothing but you are just a hardware, and what you tell yourself, what you program yourself, is your software. And then if you use the right software, obviously your hardware is going to operate the way, the kind of software you have installed. You have installed a different software, and then you wanted your hardware to operate in a different way. That isn't possible at all. So if you wanted to exhibit, confidence in an interview, if you wanted to exhibit confidence when you mingle with your team, when you wanted to exhibit confidence, when you wanted to talk to the, MD of an organization, you have already installed the software of high self-esteem. Obviously, you are going to exhibit confidence. You have installed low self-esteem. No, low self-esteem is nothing but not having good qualities about yourself. So when that is the software you have installed, and then you wanted to exhibit confidence, probably that's not going to happen. So everything is directly proportional. All right. So this holds very important value in our life. So I thought I will open up this particular program with this particular quote. Okay. Having said that, what is communication? When do we communicate? And so communication is nothing but conversation, which we do it on a regular basis. We do it with everyone, and it is normal. And there is no big theory behind it, or there is no hidden secret. And all over the globe, people are talking to each other. The only thing that has happened down the line, probably communicated interaction face to face, but now human interaction face to face has come down. Social media has taken up that particular space. So we are not going to dwell a lot of discussion around face-to-face communication or social media communication. I'm going to talk in general about communication, and you can apply it wherever that is required. So it is very much understood that, communication is not something that we do it in an abnormal way, or we do it in an unusual way, or we do it once in a moonlight. It is that we do it regularly, and it is happening across generations in different forms. Probably caveman would have communicated through signs and symbols. And then, yes, so there's a different way how people would have communicated to each other, and there would have been a different means of communication. But one point to be understood is we do communicate on a regular basis, every minute, with everyone. But the question you need to ask ourselves, or to ask yourself, is how do we talk? Do we talk our heart out? Do we talk our mind out? There are different kinds of communication, means different styles of communication, which I'm going to walk through in another 10-15 minutes when I move on to the 12th or the 11th slide, the way how we talk with others. But we need to ask ourselves, do I talk in a way which is convincing for others? Or do I talk in a way which people can accept? Or do I talk in a way which is, understood by everyone? Or do I talk in a way where people can comprehend? Or do I talk in a way where people really love me? We don't do it at all. So we talk in a way what we know. We talk in a way what we have learned. We talk in a way what is easy for us. See, for example, I am a person who always loves to, I'm giving you an example. If I am a person who loves to talk in a way by asking questions, but then the other person doesn't love to ask questions at all, he doesn't like questions at all. But if you keep on bombarding him with questions, obviously you are not talking in a way, the way how your opponent wants to be heard. For example, you are a person who loves to tell stories, but then your opponent, that opponent can be your partner, your opponent can be a colleague, your opponent can be a boss, your opponent can be, your friend. He doesn't love to hear stories, but you are a person who loves to tell stories. So just because you love to tell stories, you talk to him, telling a lot of stories, but the other person isn't interested at all. Then do you mean that you have effectively communicated? No. So you need to question yourself. How do I talk? Do I talk in a way that the other people wants to really listen to me? But this is where most of us fail in communicating. That is where we are not able to create an impactful communication or a conversation. So here the tip is, we need to talk in a way what the other person really wants to hear from us. For this, we need to come out of our comfort zone. We need to be learning a lot of strategies. We need to be acquiring a lot of knowledge about what communication is. If we are going to be in a watertight compartment, and if we are going to be in a comfort zone telling, this is how I know to talk, this is how I will talk, or this is how you need to listen to me, and then you also wanted to make the other person listen to you and obey your orders or obey your commands or accept your request, that is not going to happen at all. So here we need to tweak a little in the way how we communicate. We need to alter our own methodology. We need to adopt different strategies. You need to learn a lot about the other people before even we start communicating. And that is what is called interpersonal dynamics. I'll give you a little difference between interpersonal dynamics and intrapersonal dynamics. Intrapersonal is when you know about your own mind and body. When you know, this is what my mind wants, obviously you go take a book and read. This is what my mind wants. You obviously open a social media and you get information. Or you tell, this is what my mind wants. You immediately, go to any other platform and then entertain yourself. So when you know this is what your mind wants, obviously you go to it. And then it's okay, this is what my body wants. This is the kind of food I need to intake. This is the kind of, lifestyle that I need to live, or this is what my body accepts. Then obviously you start living that kind of a lifestyle. So when you know your own dynamics, then it is called intrapersonal. So interpersonal is directly opposite to intrapersonal. When I know myself, it is intrapersonal. When I know others, when I know to whom I'm talking, when I know whom I'm approaching, when I know to whom I'm sending this mail, when I know to whom I'm submitting this project, then obviously I tweak, I change my thought process as well as my behavior. Why? Because your behavior stems from your thought. Just imagine a triangle. You have your thoughts. From the thoughts, you have the emotions, and from the emotions, you have the behavior. So if you wanted to change your behavior, first you need to change thought, and you need to have good feelings towards your thought, and obviously there will be a change in the behavior. So these are the changes that we need to adopt when we really wanted to become effective communicators. But my today's topic is only about communication. I'm not dealing about communicators, because knowing communication itself will take hours together, sometimes even a life, because communication is so much. So having said that, I'm moving on to the next slide of communication is the key to many doors. If you know, or if you have mastered the art of communication, you can unlock many doors, be it in your relationship, be it in your workplace. If you wanted your relationship to work better, it can be with your it can be with your friends, it can be with your parents, it can be with your partners, it can be with your besties, it can be with student lecture relationship, or a student lecturer relationship, or a student HOD, or a student whomever it might be. Any relationship to be strong and to be meaningful and to be purposeful, you need to be very good in communicating, because communication is the key. If you know that, if you master that, you can unlock so many secrets of life. And then moving on to workplace. Now, I would like to give a little difference between personal life and professional life, which I've already talked earlier. Many people give a lot of importance to professional life and a little importance to personal life, telling, most of the time, prime time, I am in my workplace and I'm going to focus more only on my workplace. There might be emotional investment in your workplace. There might be time investment. there might be energy investment also. But we should also know that both personal life as well as professional life overlaps each other. So the mindset which you have in your personal life is really going to have an impact on your professional life. And the mindset which you have in your professional life is really going to impact on your personal life as well. So that is why we call it as a work-life balance. You need to know the art of balancing both your personal life as well as professional life. That is why when I talk about communication, I have brought in this relationship as well as workplace. When we know to effectively talk in a personal life, that can be brought in a professional life also. When we effectively talk in a professional life, that can brought in very well in the personal life also. So it doesn't mean that you need to be a master only in one space. If you ask me, you need to be a master in both the places, because we learn from both the places. So, and again, now at this juncture, because most of the students, you are going to jump from campus to corporate, means from your college life to a corporate life, there might require a lot of attitudinal shift in you. You still might be, I'm not claiming you will be like that, but there are chances for you to still, operate from a student mindset, or from a mindset of being very much jovial, or from a mindset of being, very much informal. This is where people are being very much noticed. So every corporates or every organization will have a competency framework telling, see, for example, Shubha is a new joinee in an organization, and there will be a competency framework which will be framed by the organization to mark for Shubha. See, for example, communication, yes, she's good. Teamwork, yes, she's good. Probably time management, good. Emotional intelligence, she's good. Mingling with people or whatever, that the list is too big, right? So you would be, marked under these framework. And at the end of 3 months, or at the end of your at the end of 6 months, at the end of the probationary period, they will go back to your competency framework, checking, okay, where all you have got this, boxes checked. And if you have all the ticks everywhere, probably you're going to be put under the permanent role. If not, you know what is going to be the result. So that requires a lot of attitudinal shift from your end to move from the student mindset to a professional mindset. And how will people know that you have made the shift? Only through your communication. So when I mean communication, it is not just when you speak, even through your behavior. So communication, again, yes, it is the key to many doors. And that's what I wanted to mention out here in this particular slide. But then when you have become efficient in communication, if you have become a skillful person in communicating to other people, when I mean other people, it might be sometimes upward. You might be talking to people who are above your level, means your team manager, your reporting manager, your boss, or the other stakeholders of the company. Or it might be lateral. You might be communicating with people who is put along with you, like your peers, your colleagues. Or there might be people whom you might be talking downwards, like who's working under you, under your guidance. You might be the mentor, so you might be talking to your mentee, or you might be talking to your team members where you are a team leader, or you might be even talking to janitors working in the organization. So when I mean conversation, skillful conversation, you must be thinking about, am I communicating upward, am I communicating downward, or am I communicating on the lateral level? In whatever level of communication you are engaged, you should be skillful. So how is that, when you become skillful, how is that going to help you? You are able to uncover the truth, not about others, about yourself first. And then you're going to make wise decisions. You are going to influence and persuade. You are going to negotiate. You are going to sell an idea, and it is going to help you to be more successful. So all these pointers, when you really put yourself in a position, like when you become an HR, or when you become the employee relation officer, or you become the learning and development head, or you become the trainer, after finishing your graduation, when you take up different roles, when you visualize yourself in that particular role, and you visualize that you are going to effectively communicate, you will be able to, uncover or decode all these pointers in terms of practical implementation. Now it might sound very much theoretical to you, but only when you put yourself in that particular role, you will be able to understand the importance of skillful conversation. The list is too big. Here I've highlighted very few, but then the list is too big. Having said that, what actually is communication? it is a dance for two. So when I mean it is a dance for two, conversation itself means it is with and turn, means it is not a monologue, it is a dialogue. Here, if you ask me, am I conversing with you? No, it is a monologue. Probably I've taken up the first 50 minutes for me to talk a lot. I was thinking that if the strength is going to be less, I'll make it more interactive. I will be asking a lot of questions, waiting for response, and then take it forward. And then when I heard the number, in order to avoid certain chaos, and then I decided, okay, let me take it first. Let me, do it in the beginning first 50 minutes. And then let me pass the stage to you where you can ask me questions or you can share ideas and opinions, right? So why am I giving you this particular example is conversation is all about dialogues, means you should be ready to listen and then answer, or you speak, you listen, and then you answer back, or you again question. So it is a dance floor for the two. It is not that you alone make the step and then you expect the whole team to dance along with you. That cannot happen. So the dance steps has to be taken by both the person or a team of members who is being involved in the conversation. So the very first learning when it comes to communication is, are we active listeners? If I give you a minute or two to think about any of the conversation you just had before you joined the session, most of the time we would be in a place to always convey something, or we would be in a place where we always react to a situation rather than responding to a situation. Why is that happening? Because we listen, but we are not actively listening, and we don't listen with a non-judgmental mindset. I'll give you a simple example. For example, you have a friend, who is always into wasting time. Okay. And then it's an exam the next day. So that particular person comes and tell you, I was not able to cover up the syllabus. I'm a bit scared. I don't know what to do. You are already prejudiced. You already have an idea about this person. He's already a time waster. He has a lot of distraction. He would have wasted time. And only because of that, today he's coming and telling you that he is not able to cover up the portion. It might not be true. He might be a person who would have wasted time, but the day before the exam, he would have become very much serious about what he's going to do the next day. And he would have really spent quite a lot of time in preparing for the exam, but still he wouldn't have covered up the portion. But then just because we somewhere would have been judgmental about this person, because that is all about conscious and subconscious brain. That is again a different theory. But now to give you a little input about how we actually respond to people, our unconscious mind gives you the information that, this person is already like this, and he would have wasted time because of this. And then he's coming and now, grumbling that he didn't have time. Only based on this prejudiced idea, you would be listening to this person. And then if you ask me, did I actively listen? No. So that is where we need to be open-minded. That is where we need to have a conversation telling that, okay, what made you not to cover up the portion? Where did you miss? What do you want me to do? If that is the kind of question that you're asking, means you have actively listened. You have been empathetic, because conversation requires a lot of empathy from your end. You're not just listening to the words, you're listening to the intention. So when he comes and tells you that he hasn't prepared, he's obviously expecting some kind of tips. He's obviously expecting some kind of strategy where he can quickly get it from you and at least clear the exam, at least get a pass mark out of the exam. So when you are actively listening, you're able to say, hey, even I wasn't able to complete, but this is what I have done. I just remember the topics. Probably I have the outline of the whole topic. Probably I will be doing this way. That few tips would really help him to do something in the exam rather than nothing. I'm just giving you as an example. So we might be facing a lot of situation like this, where we need to create a space for us to have a conversation where it is a dialogue. Only then effective communication has happened. That is why I've given you this as the first tips. Having said this, now I am actually moving on to the NLP communication model. It might be, a little complex for you to digest, or it might be very simple for you to accept also. But then I felt why not? Why not we convey this to the audience, let them know, even if it is going to be a little complex, because I'm not talking a lot of NLP, but then I'm bringing in a small part of NLP, but I would communicate to you in such a way where it is easily understandable, where you will be able to apply at least 5% of this into your communication on a daily basis, so that you make a little change in the way how you communicate, as well as how people respond to you. So what actually is this NLP communication model? We need to understand that every minute we are being bombarded with so much of information. So even now, for the past 20 to 30 minutes, I would have bombarded you with a lot of information. Non-stop, I have been talking to you. But then, if I ask you the question, does your mind process all this information? No, it doesn't process all the information. There's a lot of filters, which is put across this outside input, and then what is going to enter inside your mind. So what is that filter which is operating? All of us, basically every human is being operated by all these filters. So to decode what actually NLP communication model is, so if you see here, there is this external event. So what is the external event? Now, if you take this session as an example, this session is an external event to you. And then how is this external event sending you messages? It is happening through visual. Visual is, you see something, because that is why I have the slides. I ensure that I have to use slides, because there might be visual learners there. They like to see something concrete, and that is why we use visuals. So information gets into your head through your eyes, means visual. And then there is auditory. I'm continuously telling you information, I'm giving you information, I am passing the information, and I'm using a lot of stress, intonation, and ups and downs, volumes, and all that. Based on all this auditory factors, information is getting inside your head. So one is visual, the next one is auditory, and the next one is kinesthetic. Kinesthetic is, I am bringing in real life examples, because you will be able to feel about certain things only when I bring in certain examples. So I'm giving you that kinesthetic. And then ONG is olfactory and gustatory. Olfactory and gustatory is eating, and smelling. That's not happening right now. So mostly information gets into us through VAK. So visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Okay, so now information is getting inside our head, means trying to pass inside our head. Or all the information getting passed on? No. So there is a filter. Only based on the filter, only certain information goes. So what are the filters? If you see, there are 3 filters. One is deletion, another one is distortion, and another one is generalization. So the same happens when you talk to people. You will be giving them a lot of input. You will be giving them all the sensory activity. Example, if a person has decided, he will not listening to any of the information passed from your end. He will obviously delete everything. You might talk for 5 minutes to your parents or colleagues or whomever it might be. At the end of 5 minutes, you ask them to really understand. They might ask you the question. Means those people have completely deleted what you have told them. Right? Nothing has got into their head. They haven't processed it. And the second filter is called distortion. Distortion is, for example, I say apple, and then you perceive it as banana, then it is distortion. Okay, so let me give you an example. Again, the same example, like your friend, came and told you that he didn't prepare well for the exam, and then you tell them you would have wasted a lot of time into social media. Means what? You have distorted the message. He is conveying you that he isn't well prepared, but you are again answering him that, you would have wasted time. You have distorted the message. So the next filter is distortion. And the next filter is generalization. Generalization is, see, even today, I will give you an example. I don't know if this has happened, but it would have happened. When you see the topic or when you saw the topic as communication, many of you would have thought, what communication is. I have attended a lot of sessions on communication. Effective communication is nothing but, speaking continuously or speaking fluently in English. You would have thought that to be the whole session all about. So you would have generalized the whole topic based on just reading the message alone, reading the topic alone. Effective communication means you have generalized. Most of humans live life in a generalized way. I'll give you another example. Suppose a mid-aged man or a woman comes and tells, I've got knee pain. What would be the immediate answer? Yeah, you are in your 30s, you are in your 40s, you are already mid-aged. Obviously, you will get arthritis. It is a generalized thought. There is no proven science that if somebody reaches the age of 40 or 45, they'll have arthritis. No, it is based on their lifestyle. They get arthritis or some other complications, right? But then people have the generalized idea, and that is what they tell their neuroscience also. And even if they don't have arthritis, they will feel that they have arthritis, right? That is how this programming our own mind works. So we need to understand, when we communicate to people through this VAK, people are not processing everything that we tell them. There's this filter working. Either they delete, either they distort, or they generalize. And how is this filter working? How would have they acquired that filter? It would have been because of the time, space, matter, and energy. That's more of this physical dimension. And it is because of the language, or it would have been because of the memory. They would have created these filters. It is because of the decision that they have already made, or it is because of the meta programs. Meta programs are another level of the thought process, which is, operating one person. Or it might be because of the values, beliefs, and attitudes what a people have acquired down the line in their life. These filters will operate them. So when we communicate, we need to have in mind that people will be filtering whatever I tell, but then how do I effectively communicate? So there are two. Once I finish all this, I will give you the tips and techniques of how to overcome this particular filter, and then to have an open mind. And based on what has entered into your head, for example, 10 information has been sent. Because of the filter that has worked, only 5 have entered inside, and based on the 5, there will be an internal representation. So you create a knowledge with the 5 that is being acquired, and based on what 5 has got into the mind, there would be a psychology and physiology being developed inside the body, and only based out of that, there would be the exhibition of a certain behavior. So you can relate this to any of your real life experience back at home, or back in the college, or back in your workplace, or somewhere you went out for dining, or anywhere you just can apply. Okay, I told him this, but then he reacted this way. Why? Because what you told is an external event, but what has entered inside is entirely different. And based on what has entered inside, he has created a state, your physiological and a psychological state within that individual. And only based on that particular state, he is exhibiting the behavior. So there are two things that we need to consider here. One, am I speaking in such a way where the person is not operating with any of the filters? But 90% of the people will be operating only with filters. So the first knowledge what we should be having here is, am I going to question others? Why is she operating with filters? Rather than questioning others, first you need to question, or first you need to tell yourself, okay, when I communicate, or when I listen, when I actively listen, I am not going to have any filters. I'm not going to delete. I'm not going to distort. I'm not going to generalize. So that is the first learning that we should develop within ourselves. Only when we know this art, we will be able to communicate in such a way where we talk to them, where their filters or put down, and they are able to hear in an open mind. So the first learning is, how am I operating with no filters? How am I creating a state where my behavior is desirable? So when you go to a workplace, they will see whether your behavior is desirable or non-desirable. If they find you in a desirable state, yes, you're always welcome. You have a very good future, and you have a very good fortune. But then if they find your behavior to be undesirable, they will not be treating you as students, or they will not be treating you as kids. They'll just make notes in their competency framework, and when there is that is the time for them to give a report about you, they will be giving a detailed report telling, we noticed all this, and we found yours to be so much undesirable, and that we are unhappy that we are not able to continue your service in our organization. That's what will happen at the end. But you need to understand that my behavior has been in such a way because I have used so many filters, and I have created an internal representation, and I have created a state where my behavior has become very much indesirable to others. So before we question how others operate, we need to question ourselves, how do I operate? Only when you know how you operate, when you know your own neuroscience, you will be able to control others' neuroscience. See, for example, when somebody comes and tell you, I'm getting so much stressed. How do I help out myself? Unless and otherwise you have helped out yourself out of stress, you cannot give that tips to others, right? So the same applies here as well. So this is the communication model that I thought I should share with all of you, because when it comes to communication, there will be a lot of sessions which is required actually. Yes, you need to know English, you need to know you need to know grammar, you need to know, how to draft an email, you should know how to write a WhatsApp message. Yes, the list is big when it comes to how you need to communicate. But I felt the knowledge about how your mind functions in terms of communication is even more important before you know all this. Because if you know the what, you will easily find out how to do it. So I thought this would add more value when it comes to knowing about what communication is. So I will leave the stage open at the end in order to ask me questions, so that I will be able to clarify even more better if you have any questions revolving around this model at the end, because I have 2 more things to share. So post that, I will leave the stage open to you. So then what you need to understand about communication is the components. So when you behave, what is being noticed by others, or what is being so much magnetized by others is this. So words, when you communicate, your words play a role, or the weightage which words have is only 7%. But the tone in which you communicate is 38%. And then the body language which you have used is 55%. I'll give you an example. So you tell, I'm unhappy with you. This is a very normal way of communicating. So you understand that, somebody is unhappy with you, but then I'm unhappy with you. So what happens here? There is a gesture which has come. I'm pointing fingers. I'm telling, I'm unhappy with you. So there's a lot of difference. First, I said, I'm unhappy with you. Here, the intensity is very less. But then when I say I'm unhappy with you, here the intensity is even more, because I'm pointing at you. I'm looking at you, telling, I'm very much unhappy with you. This has more intensity. And then I am very much unhappy with you. I have changed my tone. See, first time when I said I'm unhappy with you, my tone didn't bring out that intensity. But then second time when I use the body language, yes, I'm a little, my intentions are even stronger. But then when I used my tone, stressing on the point, I am unhappy with you means I am unhappy with you. I have stressed on unhappy. I am unhappy with you. I didn't expect this from you. You have done this. I have given the weightage there. So if you have been thinking that, I just used a common word. It's a very casual way of telling I did it. I don't know why the other person got upset or why the other person got angry. Yes, obviously they will. Why? Because it is not just about the words, it is about the tone and it is about the gestures as well. So this has a major impact, especially when you attend interviews. See, for example, they ask you, what kind of a person are you? So you say, I am a person who can handle any kind of a challenge. You haven't stressed, you haven't modulated, you haven't used gestures, but then you say, I'm a person who can handle any kind of a situation, and then I can put myself in a situation where you give me any kind of a task and then I'll be able to do it. So you know what? You have not just used words, you have used gestures, you have intonated, you have stressed, you have emphasized, where you are conveying the other person what kind of a personality you are. So these are the components of communication, or which in other words, we call it as the jewels of communication, plays a major role in any phase of your life. Not just in interview, not just with your friends, not just with your parents, everywhere. If you are a bit conscious about this, you will become a person who is likable, or a person, whatever person you wanted to project yourself. See, you wanted to project yourself as a personality where you're so much caring, you will use your tone like that, you will use your gesture like that, you will not be sitting upright having your neck like this. So when you wanted to show care, obviously you will lean forward, your hands will be in such a way where you wanted to wrap them and tell them that, I'm there for you. You are not just using words, but then you are bringing that emotion as well. But then you wanted to project yourself as a powerful person, you will not be leaning forward. Yes, leaning forward gives an information that you are interested, but then when you keep your shoulders straight, and then when you hold your neck high with not bending down like this, and then here you bring out a different personality. So again, I'm just giving you a heads up on all this, because components of communication itself will take a lot of time to know what it is, right? But I then wanted to give you a lot of heads up on what actually communication is. That's why I touched on this topic, but then you need to be very conscious of this jewels of communication as well. And the next one is the model of communication process, where everywhere when you talk about communication, this is what people will tell you. Here, I would like to tell you two things. One is encoding and another one is decoding, because you might be people who are trying to, apply for jobs, or who are trying to get into a new company, or whatever it might be. That there are two things that you need to be very conscious about. This is a very known model, so I'm not going to explain everything. I would just love to explain only two things here. There is a sender, there is a receiver, right? You are encoding the message and the people will decode, and in between there is this medium and all that. So when you wanted the receiver to decode the message, the way how you have encoded, you need to keep the communication model in mind. See, for example, you understand that Shubha is a person who will always generalize things. I'm giving an example. I'm not like that, right? So you are encoding a mail, and Shubha is going to decode it. And you know that she is a person who has this, sensory acuity, who loves to read messages, or rather than hearing, rather than talking to her, she loves to read. It means you need to draft a mail, you need to draft a Skype message, or you need to draft a WhatsApp message, or whatever. You're going to encode, you are going to encode it in such a way, usage of right words, phrases, sentences, paragraphs, all this punctuations, everything, so that she decodes it the way how you have encoded. So you need to understand first, to whom am I sending? Only then you have learned the art of interpersonal dynamics. You know what communication is, you know English, or you know any other language, you know how to encode, and you will put it in such a way, you will put across anything in such a way so that they decode it in that way. So be it in your resume writing, or be it in your group discussion, or be it, when you create a profile, you should encode it in such a way so that they decode it quickly. You shouldn't put it in such a way where decoding becomes a problem. So if you are, drafting anything in such a way where decoding is a challenge, people will never even consider what you have communicated. And if you ask, is that an effective communication? No, it is not an effective communication. So effective communication is nothing but following 4 steps. One, you need to have conversation. Whether it is verbal or written, there should be space so that they acknowledge and they write back to you. Means they have acknowledged and they're asking you something. If they're not even acknowledged and if they're not even asking you something, it is just a monologue. Right. The second one is knowing the communication model, means what is the filter working for me? So what is the filter that will work for others? And the third one is knowing the components of communication, which will make your communication even more effective. And the last one is this, how to encode so that people decode it the way where they really understand my intentions and emotions. So having said that, there are only 4 styles of communication. One is passive. It is very much easy to understand when you talk to a person, what kind of, person they are by the way how they have communicated. One is passive. Passive is negative. I'm just going to give you only that. The choice of words they use, they say, it is very tough to do this. Then they're obviously passive. They are aggressive, aggressive is I'm going to get it done, but I'm going to put you in trouble. They're like aggressive. Passive aggressive is there'll be a mixture. See, either you can be passive or you can be aggressive. Passive aggressive is even more dangerous. Only thing is assertive. Assertive is I can do this despite all the challenges which comes across. Means what? You are emphasizing on I can do this, and you're also not denying the fact that you are going to face challenges, because you're being more relatable also. So in reality, challenges are there, but then you are also able to do it. So in styles of communication, there are people who are passive, there are people who are aggressive, there are people who are passive aggressive, there are people who are assertive. It is very easy to identify. So even when you are put in a situation where people are, having an eye on you, checking what kind of a person, only based on this, they will easily identify what kind of a person you are. And if you really wanted to create an impact, if you wanted to leave a mark in the place where you have been, even if you have been there for 10 or 15 minutes, if you have really communicated in an assertive way, people never can forget you in your life. And imagine if you're going to get a job, or if you wanted to, be jumping in your career, or you need a career growth, you need that success factor, you need to adopt the assertive style of communication. And again, this requires a lot of practice, a lot of knowledge. What are the words, how you should be speaking, and what is the body language for assertive behavior. But then again, I wanted to give you a heads up on this. For effective communicator, you need to be assertive in your style of communication. Fine. The last tips for you to be an effective communicator, just follow the 6 C's. You be clear in what you're communicating. See, there are people who will really confuse you. I'll tell you a simple example. You go to somebody, ask them for a route. Where is this? There will be people who will tell you, go just 10 feet, take a right, another 2 feet, take a left, you get the place. There are people, even though it is close by, they'll confuse you. They'll not be able to, even clearly give an information even in their own mother tongue. So when you communicate, be clear, don't brood over, and then concise. We have this habit of, brooding over, enlarging and expanding, and too much stretching what we wanted to communicate. Not required, just concise. This is what I wanted to communicate. And then correct. People really wanted to, fake out these days for so many reasons, which is not required at all. Just give the correct information. This is what I wanted to say. Here correct means the content, what you wanted to convey, and then complete. Don't leave it haphazardly. Give a complete information, and it should be constructive and it should be courteous. It talks about your nature. See, I can say, get me that pen, but then, could you please get me that pen? It is courteous. I want that pen. It can be a person, it can be downward. I might be telling to a janitor, I might be telling to a student, I may be telling to my own trainees, but it doesn't mean that I have to tell them, get me that pen. Not required. So be a little courteous. Can you get me that pen? Why? Because communication is not just words, it's about your personality as well. So when you keep this 6 C's in whatever you draft, even when you draft a WhatsApp message, even if you're going to leave a informal WhatsApp message, it's okay. There are people, even if they want to convey one particular message, they will be sending at least 10, 15 messages to convey one particular message. Not required. Even if you wanted to talk to your friend in one simple message, when you apply all the 6 C's, it is very easy for you to communicate. That is where you start. So many people may have this question, where do I learn this? You really need not wait for a very formal space or to become a professional or to get a job to do all this. When you start from a very informal space itself, you are already becoming better in it. And then when you get into the real situation, you become the best in it. So where should I start? You can start from anywhere and everywhere you do on a regular basis, the way how you communicate with your people in any kind of platform that you are already using. So this is one thing that I wanted to convey all of you in order to become effective communicators. So having said that, your communication should be intentional. Why? What is my intent in message, in communicating with anybody? And that should be a goal. I want to convey this. And then it should be strategic. Strategic is applying a strategy. And when you apply a strategy, it depends on to whom you are applying. If you're going to apply a strategy for Shubha, it might not be the same for Vandana ma'am. She might expect another strategy. So only when you know interpersonal dynamics, you will be able to be strategic in communicating. So this is one more nuances that you need to follow in order to effectively communicate. So communication is a leadership discipline, because that is the role that you're going to, might be you're already playing or you're going to take up in the near future, because it is the leader's bearing. Communication is the leader's bearing. Nobody can deny, being a leader, that I cannot effectively communicate. That's the main thing. And then the words that the leader use, you cannot again repent or regret telling, I'm sorry. Nobody is going to accept it. As a leader, when you are a role model, when you inspire people and when you want people to be your followers, you need to be using the right words. And then the way the leader engages others, it is through body language. And just because we are all management people, I think this is the most important discipline that we should all be having in your mind. So for now, I'm going to skip this. I'm just going to move to the question and answer session. So any question for me, guys? You can unmute yourself and you can ask me.
You can also post it in the chat box.
Ma'am, good evening. This is Professor Sriraman from Christ University, Bangalore.
Yes, sir.
Since a lot of students are here in this forum,
Okay.
Since you have been taking a lot of sessions on interview readiness.
Yes, sir.
So what is that you think maybe one or two areas?
Yes, sir.
Current generation has to really work on to crack interviews.
So if you ask me, more than the external knowledge that they gain about their own domain, first step would be knowing themselves. So know thyself is what I would recommend first. So knowing your own inner world means what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what am I good at, what I need to work even better, or what I need to change, what are the areas I need to change myself. So that would be the first area. And the second area is jumping on to the external world. Okay, so this is me. And then this is the kind of the job market that is prevailing outside. So how is that I can fit myself into the job market? So I think these are the two areas that to start with, they should be working, sir. So first to work on themselves. And the second thing is to know about the job market. So when I know that this is the kind of work environment or a job landscape that I'm going to land in, how is that I need to adapt myself to that particular job market? For example, sir, recently paying interns from a company called Moss Adams. And then they're all people, I had students from Christ, I had students from different parts of Karnataka. They were very good in English. Their communication were very strong. But then they didn't have enough knowledge about business etiquettes. Business etiquettes in the sense how to draft an email. When we gave them a simple topic on to draft an email, like we were really shocked. They're very good in the English language, but they didn't have this idea of how to draft an email, how to paraphrase it or how to paragraph it. But then that's the most important thing, because most of their clients are global clients and most of their interactions are only through emails, and that etiquette they were lacking. So probably when students know, okay, this is the job landscape I'm going to land in, let me become very good in the written language. Let me know how to draft an email. So likewise, they should be creating a list of areas where they need to equip themselves and they need to work on themselves. So again, what I would say is, like opportunities are many. They are doing moonlighting. Morning, they are into a 9 to 5 job. Moonlighting, they're doing another job. Even I am into multiple jobs. As I was telling you, I run my organization from 8 to 3. I am into this 411 and all that. Opportunities are many, but then only proficient, efficient people are getting absorbed. And then how do I become proficient and efficient? Only self-interest, passion, and commitment towards my goal.
Okay, just one more to benefit of the students.
Yes,
In
sir.
your opinion, how far the resume has a weightage in shortlisting a candidate? Because you see a lot of students,
Yes, sir.
they do a lot of work on the resume. But
Mm.
as you rightly said, the resume is different. As an individual, they're different.
Yes,
so
sir.
how weightage a resume carries in this process?
Yes, sir. So the weightage of resume is 70% because even before the candidate goes in front of the employer, what represents an individual is a resume. So resume, and then when we call it as a resume, we call it as a targeted resume. When I know I'm applying for 10 different jobs, I read the roles and responsibilities of the 10 different jobs, and I draft my resume. I craft my resume so that I target that R&R. It is not that I have one resume created and I use the same resume to apply for all the 10 jobs. No. I have 10 different resume because I'm going to apply for 10 different jobs, and 10 different jobs have 10 different R&R. So every keyword that I am using targets that particular job, and the weightage is close to 70 to 80%. For example, I am a potential employer looking for a potential employee. And when I roll out my, as a hiring manager, when I roll out the need for a job, and then when I get all the resume, only based on the resume, I am calling out for an interview or for the next round of an aptitude round or technical round or whatever it might be. But then if you ask me again, sir, only now students are gaining knowledge about, yes, I need to be creating a targeted resume, but their awareness towards how to create a targeted resume is lesser. So students are utterly failing in the first round itself, where they're not even called because they don't create an appealing resume. And again, even in the resume, see, for example, I might be a leadership, I might be a proficient leader, but then the R&R says that we need a team player. And then in my skills and competencies, I put myself as a proficient leader. Obviously, the chances to get selected becomes less. Why? Because I'm looking for a team player, and then I'm highlighting myself as a team leader. I don't want a leader. As of now, I need a team player. So I should have this knowledge. Okay, the R&R says team player. So in my resume, I highlight myself as a team player. And then after getting to a job, upskilling yourself and then becoming a leader is a different story. I'm just trying to map it, sir. I'm just trying to give an example.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Because students are there, this will definitely help them. That's the reason.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you
But
so much.
thank you, sir.
It was wonderful, nice session.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure is mine. So dear students, now it's the time for you to open up with any questions. Don't think, my question will be very silly, or can I ask this question? Is it meaningful? Nothing. Anything that you ask is meaningful, and it is important to me. Otherwise, I leave my number here. If you have, is that okay, Vandana ma'am? Can I leave my number so that if they have any doubts, they can...
Yeah, you can leave your number, but I think there is one question: how to say no to people, ma'am?
Yes, fine. That's a wonderful question. Okay, so example, if somebody comes and tells you that, I have a wonderful idea, how do I would like you to implement it. So you tell them, of all the ideas that I have heard so far, this seems to be really fantabulous. I will really keep it in my mind and I will use it whenever the time comes. And then you say, like, can you be more specific? Shivakumar, when you say no to people, it also depends. When you mean people, again, we cannot generalize. People, are they from workplace or are they from, your personal life? Shivakumar, probably you
think it has something to do with assertive communication. And
all right.
yes,
So when
and you have to protect your rights, I think, and as well as
yes,
others. Right?
exactly. See, for example, if somebody comes and gives you an extra task, so you tell them, I would be very much happy to take up this task, but I already have so many in my to-do list. Is it okay if I do it within 15 after 15 days? You're not denying, you're also accepting, but then you're also putting for the challenge that it will be probably done only after 15 days. So they themselves get the idea that it is a no from them, right? You're not directly telling no, but then you're showing your willingness. You're also telling your, your denial. Okay, with friends. Yes, to friends, you can be very much open. See, sometimes where you need to be informal, if you're going to be very much formal, that will create a space also. So when you really wanted to say no to your friend, you tell them, hey, I really wanted to help you, but then, this is the time I have, and I'm really logged with such a situation. Can we do it together? Or the same thing, can I do it after a week? Probably that might be a very urgent situation where he needs it to be done at that particular time itself. And then he says, then it's okay, let me ask somebody else. Right? It is about putting it in a positive way rather than telling, I cannot do it. You say, I love to do it, but these are the challenges. All right. So the other question is, yes, VAKOJ. Okay, V stands for visual. A stands for auditory, K stands for kinesthetic, O stands for olfactory, G stands for gustatory. I'll explain you in a very simpler way. Imagine, can we use resume generation apps? I'll come back to that question. Just give me 1 minute, Aisha. So yes. So imagine you are getting a new laptop. Okay. You wanted to know how it works. Probably what I will do is I will call my son. I'll ask him to explain. Means I'm a kinesthetic person. I want somebody to do it for me. I wanted to do it myself. Then kinesthetic. There might be people who would like to read the user's manual. They'll go line by line. Even if it is a small font, they read line by line with a lens. They are all visual people. They wanted to see something visually concrete. There might be people who might call a friend, telling, hey, I bought a new laptop. Can you tell me how to operate this? They listen and then they start operating that particular laptop. So mostly we might be visual, we might be auditory, we might be kinesthetic. Olfactory is when you use smell, and gustatory is, taste. That obviously is for food. There are people like chef, like Venkatesh, but Mr. Venkatesh, but he just smells the food and say salt is less or spice is less, because for him olfactory is more. So gustatory is taste. So that actually is the expansion of VAKOJ. So for us, information, sensory acuity, information goes through all these. Imagine you're traveling in a bus. There might be people who might be seeing all the banners and they will know what is happening. There might be people who would be putting on the radio and listening to what is happening. So we might be predominantly visual, or we might be predominantly auditory, or we might be predominantly kinesthetic. And we will be a combination. For me, I am kinesthetic plus visual. I'm not auditory. I cannot listen to people for a lot of time. It's okay. So that's your make. That is your neuroscience. And based on that, you should be operating. And when see, for example, imagine I am your reporting manager and I am an auditory person. And I'm asking you for the project details. And you come and tell me, Shubha, I have sent you all the details via mail. Do you think I'll be happy? I'll not be happy. Why? Because I'm an auditory person. Yes, for proof, I have a mail. Black and white, I have a mail. But explain me. I wanted to hear from you. So when Shubha is this, you go explain. But just because you are visual, you might be hesitant to explain. That is where we might lack in the proper communication. When the other person is this, you should be breaking your comfort zone and doing what other person wants, especially in your workplace. Fine. That is that explanation. Yes. Coming to usage of resume generation for apps, I would suggest apps can create only resume. Apps cannot create a person as such. See, Canva cannot create Shubha, but Canva can create some words for Shubha. Means all those apps cannot create a personalized resume. Probably you can use them as guidance, or you can use them as a support system. You cannot use that itself to be the final output or an outcome. See, for example, you enter all that, you get a template or whatever. You just cannot copy paste or use the same. It can be a support system. It's giving you some additional knowledge, but only you know about yourself. See, for example, I will actually break it down in a very simple way, chunk it down in a different way. This is a job market. Job market wants Y, but you are an X. Can X fit into Y? No. Either you convert this X into Y and fit it here, or you will have 5, 6 X, Y, Z. So you fit X only to X. That is knowing your inner world and knowing an outer world. You can do either of the two. Finding a job which suits you well, or finding a job where you can adapt yourself and be flexible and put yourself there. You can just use it only for reference, but not as a final outcome. That's the answer for usage of apps. Okay. Do you conduct NLP sessions for students and corporate online? Yes, I do. My team as well as me as well as my team does a lot of NLP trainings. So you can visit my social media handles in the name of Shubha NLP. You can find all that there. So I'm leaving my message here, number here. So you can just Google me for Shubha NLP.
LinkedIn also, maybe if you're
in LinkedIn also, I am there as Shubha NLP. I have all this postings about a few posts about NLP, about communication.
Okay. That was an interesting session, Ms. Shubha. I'm sure that there are many more questions, but as the time also is not permitting,
yes,
those who have questions can call Ms. Shubha, message her, or maybe leave a message in her LinkedIn. You can connect with her. So that was you covered many aspects of communication. Thank you for your efforts and taking time off to be with us today. To formally thank you, I invite Akshay Shruti of second MBA from GRG School of Management Studies to propose the vote of thanks, or thank you. Akshay, are you there?
Yes, thank you. So, good evening, everyone. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Ms. V. Subha, our esteemed guest speaker, for gracing us with her insightful talk on effective communication, particularly in the context of NLP models. Your expertise and knowledge in this field, natural language processing, are truly commendable, and your ability to simplify complex concepts for our audience was remarkable. Your talk has not only enlightened us about the intricacies of NLP, but has also left us with a practical insight.
Yeah, we are not able to hear you.
We greatly appreciate the time and effort you put to deliver this engaging presentation. Furthermore, I want to thank Coimbatore Management Association for arranging this session. I want to thank our audience for their active participation.
Yeah. The audio is a little broken,
yes,
but I'm sure she wants to thank from her heart. And
yes,
those were very good words. Thank you, Akshay. Thank you, Ms. Shubha. Thank you so much.
Pleasure is mine, Vandana ma'am. Pleasure is mine.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch. Sure. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, participants. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Good night to all.
Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night.